Amazon buried a James Bond streaming universe that would have changed everything, and the reason they killed it is something they never wanted you to know. $8.5 billion. That's what Amazon paid for MGM in 2022. And the thing they were really buying, the thing that justified every penny of that number, was Bond. Not just the movies, all of it. They had plans, real plans, a prequel series, spin-offs. A streaming Bond universe that would have made what Marvel built look modest. The deal was structured, the conversations happened, and then something killed it. Not a failure, not a flop. Something nobody in the trades has ever said out loud. To understand what Amazon buried, you have to go back to how the Bond franchise actually works, because this is where it gets complicated in a way that never makes the press releases. When MGM was shopping itself in 2021, it was drowning in debt. The studio had already delayed No Time to Die twice because of the pandemic and needed a lifeline. Amazon came in with the largest acquisition in streaming history. And yes, they wanted the Rocky films and the back library. But internally, at the executive level, every conversation circled back to Bond. Because Bond isn't just a character. Bond is a machine. One film every 2 to 3 years, $100 million in guaranteed marketing spend, global theatrical releases, merchandise licensing that never stops printing money. Amazon didn't buy MGM. They bought what Bond could become on Prime Video. Here's what the coverage missed. The deal closed in March 2022. Within 6 months, Amazon Studios was in active development talks, not preliminary conversations, actual development for a Bond streaming series. The internal pitch described a prequel following a young Bond, structured as a prestige limited series, 8 episodes, designed to compete directly with House of the Dragon for Emmy attention and cultural conversation. Producers were approached, writers were in the room, and there was a number attached to it. Budget discussions touched $200 million for a single season, for streaming, for Bond. You were never supposed to hear that number, because the project never got announced. It never got a green light. It never got a single trade item. It disappeared. And the reason it disappeared is the clause nobody reports. Here's the thing about James Bond that Amazon apparently didn't fully reckon with until after the deal closed. Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, the Broccoli family, the heirs of original Bond producer Albert Cubby Broccoli, do not just produce the Bond films. They control them, contractually. There is a consent provision baked into the original Eon Productions agreement with MGM, a contract that predates every streaming platform that exists, requiring the Broccolis to approve any Bond-related production. Film, television, streaming, any of it. Amazon paid $8.5 billion for a studio. What they got was a landlord arrangement. The Broccolis own the apartment. Amazon just bought the building. Remember that signed deal, the MGM acquisition the press celebrated as Amazon finally entering the movie business. Here's where it died. Barbara Broccoli said no, not publicly, not with a press release, privately, firmly, completely. Broccoli has stated in meetings, in source trade coverage buried in paragraph 11, that Bond will not become a streaming franchise. No series. No spin-offs. No universe expansion. Her argument is that Bond's cultural power comes from scarcity. One film, every few years, nothing in between. But here's the part that makes this worse than creative disagreement. Amazon's entire Prime Video strategy depends on franchises that generate seasons, episodes, engagement metrics year-round. The $200 million Bond series wasn't just a creative project. It was a business necessity for justifying the acquisition to shareholders. And Barbara Broccoli, armed with a contract clause that predates Jeff Bezos, blocked it. Not because the writing was weak, not because the idea was bad, because she legally could. And she did. The deal was signed. The universe was planned, and one decades-old contract killed it. Think about what that streaming Bond universe would have looked like in 2024 and 2025. The exact years the franchise is sitting completely dormant. No film, no new Bond actor announced, nothing in the pipeline. A prestige prequel series with the kind of money Amazon deploys when something matters would have been the biggest television event since The Last of Us. It would have redefined what a spy franchise could become in the streaming era. It would have generated $1 billion in subscriber value alone. It would have changed everything about how legacy properties survive in a world where theatrical is shrinking and streaming is the only game left. Instead, there's nothing. A silent franchise. $8.5 billion of rights sitting completely idle. So here's the question Amazon still won't answer. What happens to Bond when Barbara Broccoli is no longer in control of that contract? Because there's another studio sitting on a buried deal just like this one, and their franchise is even bigger.